I call this meeting of the Mount Vernon Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. Need a motion to certify the agenda?
So moved.
Motion made by Brooks, seconded by Robert. All for that. That is a 7-0. And at this time, I'll say a prayer for us. Pray with me, please. God, thank you for bringing us here tonight, for all these students that are here and are representing our school, all the staff that we have. Thank you for the end of the school year coming up. Lots of busy times. Pray for our folks that are traveling, those that are getting ready for banquets and different things. Pray, God, that you give us wisdom, whether it be a student that's getting ready to get out of school or moving up into grades, or a teacher or a coach, where we have an aide up here, wherever. Thank you, God, for our cafeteria workers, our janitors, all these folks taking care of our school grounds. Be with this school board up here. Help us to make the decisions that would best affect your kids. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. And we'll do our pledges. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor
to Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
All right, moving on to item number 2, administer oath of office to unopposed, newly elected board of trustees. Jessica? Okay. So Leanne and I are going to step up here, I guess. Get this out of the way.
So Aaron and Leanne ran unopposed for their 2 board seats, and therefore, because there was no opposition, they automatically remain on the board. And at this time, they're going to be sworn back in as members of the Board of Trustees.
Raise your right hand, please. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Aaron Sanders,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of the school board trustee.
that I will faithfully execute the office of the school board trustee.
That I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of the school board trustee.
I will faithfully execute the office of school board trustee
For the Mount Vernon Independent School District
For the Mount Vernon Independent School District
and Mount Vernon School District
of the state of Texas.
of the state of Texas.
of the state of Texas.
And I will do the best of my ability to preserve, protect, and defend.
Preserve, protect, and defend
I will do the best of my ability to preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States,
and of this state, so help me God.
and of this state, so help me God.
Very good.
Say it together and guys, ladies first. So that's a big mistake on my part, not letting her go first. And I'm kind of embarrassed about it.
Okay, next item on the agenda, that was number 5, we're going to, no it wasn't, it was number 2. So number 3, reorganization of the Board of Trustees. I'll turn that over to Dr. McCullough.
Okay, so at this time, because we technically had a board election, which we didn't have to because the 2 ran unopposed, the May board meeting gives the board the opportunity to reorganize the president, vice president, and secretary positions. So at this time, I will take nominations for the office of president. Have a nomination for Aaron. Have a second. Any other nominations for the office of president? So I have a nomination and a second for Aaron Sanders as board president. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? That is 7-0. Now we'll move on. I'm going to hand this now back over to the president. Mr. President, I'll hand this back to you for vice president and secretary.
Okay, at this time, I'll take nominations for a vice president.
I nominate Josh.
Josh Jordan nominated. Any other nominations? Seconded by Robert. All for Josh Jordan as vice president. 7-0. Okay. All right. And then at this time, we'll take nominations for secretary of the board. Nominated Brooke Bissell. Seconded. Any other nominations? Moved and seconded. All for Brooke Bissell as secretary. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Ooh, this is a good part right here. Special recognition. Dr. McCullough, we're going to turn this over to you.
I like it. I want to thank everyone for being here tonight, parents and students and sponsors. All throughout the school year, we've tried to recognize different groups at different times, but I felt that we had missed some, and I did not want to miss anybody. So I thought here at the last board meeting of the school year to take the opportunity for us to, turn that on, to take the opportunity to honor students who have excelled throughout this school year in different sports and organizations and clubs that they're a part of. So first, I'm going to ask Miss Megan Folk to come forward. Miss Megan, you're by yourself, but we're just going to ask you to kind of stand right, come to the middle. Yeah, come right there and stand in front of everybody. The reason I wanted Megan to come to be honored tonight because Megan holds the distinguished honor, as far as I know, as being the first student from Mount Vernon ISD to graduate with an associate's degree from Northeast Texas Community College, and she'll be graduating with that degree actually before she graduates from Mount Vernon ISD with her high school diploma. So I want to take the honor tonight. Bar high, and I hope that there will be many students who will follow your example and take the opportunity to do so. That's a great accomplishment, and we honor you tonight, and so again, congratulations, and thank you for representing Mount Vernon ISD in such a fantastic way, so thank you.
Yes, can we do a picture right quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to do several pictures tonight, so when we roll all up here, when y'all come up here, don't be taking off.
Y'all will come out here from behind the podium. So please be patient with us tonight. This will take a little bit of time, but it's a good time to take. I think we honor our students.
When she was online, she's a wonderful.
She also
All right, very good. All right, next on our list, we have the opportunity tonight. We have First National Bank of East Texas.
She's my granddaughter.
And Mr. Jason Frazier, who's going to come. First National Bank of East Texas, the last several years, has graciously made a donation to 5 of our students for Chromebooks, and so he's going to come make that presentation tonight on behalf of First National Bank of East Texas.
Thanks, sir.
Well, the young lady that just left here, I'm not sure I would have got that done even at my age. They had the opportunity for us to have that many classes. Welcome to the job world, folks. So don't ever quit dreaming. But congratulations to you. I know when I got to A&M, I said, how many hours I got to have to get through? They said 132. We didn't get to start with anything like you guys do now. So be glad that you have a school that helps you get into those classes so that you don't have to live at college like I did. Don't get me wrong, college was fun. Okay, it was nice. But it would have been nice to have been through earlier. So I'm proud to see those that are excelling in that. Today, we've been, as he said, we've been able to donate computers each year. And it's the students that are looking forward to moving on into the next level of their career. So I've got 5 of them here. I'm going to be short and brief because it looks like y'all got a long schedule today. So I'm just going to call you up. You come up here. I'll present you your Chromebooks. Everything's supposed to be in there according to the computer IT guy that brought it in. Okay? If not, you call me. All right? I'm going to call you up and we'll come up here and I'll present all of them to you. And we will take a quick picture and I'll get out of y'all's way. But to all of you students that are here, you know, you look at the bank and you say, well, the bank's not the thing I need to worry about right now. You're wrong, okay? It's a place for you to start your financial literacy of how you're going to conduct business for the rest of your life. And I want you to know that I'm always there. I run this branch, Pittsburgh, and fixing to run Sulphur Spring. But my office is always open, okay, to answer questions to the young people. If you have parents that don't understand it, tell your parent, I will be glad to sit down and visit with you. I want to be able to see you get a fresh start as you move forward. And those of you that are going to college, okay, I know mom and dad may help foot the bill, okay, mine did too. But you still need to know how to manage a checking account, okay? And how to use your debit card and know that just because the computer says, oh, I got a balance, that doesn't necessarily mean it's right, okay? Because moms and dads, they do not like overdraft charges on their account because I get phone calls. So, but as y'all come up, just line up here and I'll present them to you, all right? And if I say these wrong, y'all forgive me, okay? S.I.E. Escatine. Emily Gonzalez. Yaline Narvaez. Emma Larson. And Vanessa Sosa. I didn't say the last time I was in this auditorium was 1985 for the area FFA banquet. I was the area president and we were on the talent team. That's the last time I've been in this auditorium. So it's good to kind of come back.
We still have it right here.
Do you still have it? Well, I need to come back and visit. You need to tell me when it is. I will be here, okay? I'll wear my whole jacket. I think I can still get it around. Let's give them a round of applause. Let me get a picture with you real quick. Y'all slide in.
All right, we got it.
Got it? Oh, look at her. Look at her. All right. Thank y'all. Congratulations.
Mr. Frazier, we appreciate you and First National Bank of East Texas and how you always support our students. And always, each year as you come do that, the offer that you extend our students, I hope that they take you up on that. And seek out financial advice at times when they need any help, and we appreciate you very much. All right, so we're going to move on through our recognitions now. At this time, I will ask both of our ADs to come forward, Coach Willard and Coach Floyd. If y'all come together, please, and I'll let you go through.
Alright, so I think we're starting with football. Is that how we're doing this? Okay, so had a pretty good football season. It was alright. It's been a while, so you know we're looking but it's awesome. Thank y'all for letting us come here and recognize these kids. So we had 6 all-state football players this year. 3 of them are able to be here right now, and an all-state manager. Thank you, Adam. I saw you there. So the 3 that are here today, Adrian Diaz, Caden Kaufman is somewhere, and Austin Reed. So they're making their way up here. Also, so the best kicker, the best receiver, and the best defensive end in 3A football. All athletics, I can do that. All right, so the 3 that aren't here, they're actually in Winsboro right now playing 7-on-7. Braden Bennett, 3A Offensive Player of the Year. Mackenzie McGill, he was all right at running back. And then Boone Morris was All-State as a sophomore. So those 3 things here. All right, moving on. Let's go track, because that's really soon. All right, so Kaufman's gets to stay here. He qualified for the state track meet in Austin. They'll be competing on Thursday. So he's going to be competing in the long jump, and then Gavin Rainey and Cale Reagan in the 400. And then I'm making a week out of the trip down to Austin and staying for the state golf tournament, which is Monday and Tuesday, with Laney Bright. Is Laney here? No, but let's give her a round. So she's qualified as an individual for the state golf tournament, which is awesome. And then finally, powerlifting. So Amber Burrow, Steven Schlauman, y'all can come up here. Both competed at the state tournament. And as I'm coming up here, Coach Gamblin wrote this, so I'm going to try and read, which is difficult. So, the boys powerlifting team had 2 members that qualified and represented NVHS at the boys state meet in Abilene this year, and they were Heath Schauman and Mackenzie McGill. It was the first appearance for Mackenzie, who is a junior, and most surely will not be his last. Heath made his 3rd appearance at the state meet this year, and came away with a 3rd place finish as he improved substantially from his 7th place finish the year before. Heath is a senior and will be taking his tremendous work ethic and skills to the United States Marine Corps upon graduation at the end of this month. Let's give him a hand for that. The boys team was represented at the state meet in Corpus Christi this year by Amber Burrow, a junior lifter that was making her 3rd appearance at the state level. Her first year at the state meet was canceled due to COVID, as was the case for Heath Schlauman as well, but last year she came home with the state championship, which she repeated for a 2nd time this year, coming very close to several state records. Her plan for next year is to return once more to the state meet, with her sights set on attempting to break at least 3 of the 4 records that are within her reach. Amber is a very dedicated worker that rarely takes any time off of her training, even through the summer months when school is out. Good luck to Amber next season. Special thanks to Tammy Gamblin for all the help she provided me through this past season. If it were not for her, couldn't get it done. Thanks to all the student athletes who competed this year as well. Coach Gamblin.
Hey, volley
academic all-state volleyball winners from the Texas Girls Coaches Association. Madeline Wardrobe. Will Smith. Lauren Newsom. Alexis Longsford. Cameron Duck. And David Ross. And in basketball, we have one academic all-state, Texas Association of Basketball Coaches, Caitlin Dunn.
Take the opportunity to recognize probably one of the most successful programs we have, and that's going to be the cheer program.
Follow her.
I say question, quick.
So this is, everybody that's entering the stage from now on, I'll announce it in just a second, but this is your stage runner-up. Second place UIL team for this year. This year there were 86 teams in the 3A division, or 3A division. We were in Division 1. And they got second out of all of that, which is great. We also scored our highest scoring band chant of our school's history, which is great too. Before that, they were the regional champions. And we also did another competition in December, which was a kind of lead up to state, which they also won first place into also. So this is, step forward when I say your name, please. Miss Kaylee Copeland, Miss Reese Conlon, Miss Chaselyn Wardrop, Miss Avery Byrne, Miss Amy McCannons, Miss Amy Jordan, Jalen Collins, Aaliyah Minter, Olivia Baird, Ashley Call, Aaliyah Traylor, McKenna Stewart, Preston McCormick, Brooke Smith, Ainsley Trantham, Lyric Hoffman, Savannah Cardenas, Leonie Rose, Keely Nicholson, Billy Stovall's not here, but she's great, Gracie Martin, Gracie Proctor, Addie Kimberlin, Caitlin Zenovitz, Mackenzie Putnam, Leah Shane, and Milo McCammon. I'd like to get everybody that's on stage. received academic All-State out of this group. Academic. So that is Addie, Matt, Milo, and Mia. They all received academic All-State. Oh, I'm sorry, and Brooke Smith, the one other. That means that they had an average high enough, was over 94 total for their senior year. And then step forward if you received All-State cheerleader. So, yes, seniors too. The senior and All-States. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Gracie, step back. You're not backwards. Sorry. That's Presley, Avery, Addie, Emmy, Milo, Mia, and Kaylee Copeland. And they all received All-State as some of the top grade cheerleaders. And then Gracie Proctor was selected as All-State to perform this summer at the All-State game. It's like an all-star basketball game. And she'll be performing at halftime of that event, in which I will be coaching her again. So she's thrilled for that. And this is Mr. Zeller. He's pretty cool.
What she's failed to mention is that Ms. Wilkins is also the state cheerleading coach of the year for 1 through 4A.
Thank you all for your support with the school board and admin. We appreciate everything you do for us. So, good job, cheerleaders. We're good. Oh, picture. Hey, can y'all get in close, please? Because y'all saw how it looks when we got bigger. All right, 1, 2, 3. One more. Got it.
Hey, Wood. Is it open? Now? What?
Attendance roster.
Next, we're going to take the opportunity to recognize another very, very successful program here at Mount Vernon ISD, and that's the One Act Play.
Look at you.
Hi. I'm going to use this, but I also don't really need it, so I'm sorry if I'm really loud. This year for When I Played, we finished our year. We had another super successful year. We finished this year as by-district champions, regional qualifiers, and for the 3rd year in a row, we were the Region 2 state alternate play, and that means we finished as one of the top 12 schools in the state of Texas. So. Very proud. This year we had quite a few awards. The awards include district. Our outstanding technician was Mackenzie Putnam. Our honorable mention all-star cast at district was Austin Reed and his BFF Keaton Decker. We also had our all-star cast at district was Alexis Lunsford and Connor Coburn. Moving right along to by district, not only were we the by district champions, and Miss Mia Shane. Best Tech was Rachel. No, Savannah. Oh, we got Best Tech Crew at District. Sorry. We got Best Tech Crew at District. I was making fun of Jen because I was all prepared and look at me. We got Best Tech Crew at District. So all of my tech crew, y'all stand up, please. Or stand out, or step forward, whatever. All right, so really, I'm trying not to talk too much. What some people don't understand about One Act Play is that I am not with them at all. They set up, they strike, they do the entire show by themselves, and it is completely run by this tech crew. And if we're being completely honest, those of you who were there, you know, they saved our show, and they are the reason we are the state alternates. It is by no other reason except for God and them. So we appreciate them. Thank you, Rachel. All right, moving right along to area awards was Miss Rachel Dunn for Outstanding Technician. Honorable mention All-Star Cast was Daliana Batortu, Mr. Athen Bales, Keaton Decker, and our All-Star Cast area was Miss Alexis Lunsford. Tech Award at Regionals was Miss Savannah Maxton. And we really racked up quite a few awards. I think we had the most acting awards out of any school there. Included Miss Daliana Latortu for Honorable Mention All-Star Cast, Mr. Athen Bales, Mia Shane, and All-Star Cast was Mr. Connor Coburn. And then, before I go on, did I forget anything else? I'm doing that right now, but I want to make sure. All right, this young lady's going to step forward. I'm going to talk about her for quite a bit. This year is your Region 2, 3A, Best Performer for the second year in a row, which is a pretty big deal, was Miss Alexis Lunsford. This was also Alexis's third overall Best Performer in her high school career, which is kind of unheard of. So congratulations, Alexis. And she brought in from Mount Vernon, most people don't know this, the 11th Best Performer award in the past 5 years. So congratulations, Alexis. Our people include, I can see them all, Daliana Latortu, Savannah Maxton. This is Jude Garrett Hunt. He is also a member of our team. He comes to more practices at pretty much any of them. Rachel Dunn, Colby Bussell, our senior. Who's that, Colby? Chloe Copeland, Jessa Ross, Miss Mackenzie Putnam, Alexis Lunsford, Mia Shane, Ian Davidson, Athen Bales, Tanner, he was the man with the guitar, ladies and gentlemen, Addie, Seth, Connor, Juan, and Keaton Austin. We have quite a few also that could not make it tonight, but thank you for your support. I want to say a big thank you to boys, girls, athletics, and the cheer department, because if you can't tell, we have multi-athletes, we have multi-academics all in One Act Play, and that is why we are so successful, is because of all of you, so thank you.
As they're sitting back down, I know I'm probably a little biased to Superintendent Mount Harmon, but I think they got it shafted. One of the advancing plays, and I didn't get to catch all of it, but I can tell you that the performance that our students put on that day was more technical and hit everything that they had And I know I'm biased, but was a much better play than what were the advancing plays put on. And I couldn't be more proud of our students and Ms. Carly for what y'all did. It was phenomenal. Next, I would like to take the opportunity for us to recognize some very special art students. So, Ms. Carly.
That's what it smells.
I'm Shelley Walker. I am the new art teacher this year, and we participated in a contest called BASE. And what that is, the students create artwork and they submit it to the regional event, and then from there you get a chance to advance to state. The state competition are kind of equated to like the championship state football game, but we actually had 2 girls make it to state this year, which is a huge deal. We've had Lily Ruelas and Ashton Donovan. So there was actually, I've got the numbers here, they gave me the final numbers this week. There was 30,643 art pieces across the whole state of Texas in the regional event, and only 1,974 advanced to state. And then once you get there, you normally have an interview process. Since regional was virtual this year, they answered questions about their art, talked about it, talked about the artistic process and things like that. And then when you get there, they rate you a 1 through 4. If you get a 4 rating, that's the best. That's where you get a medal at state. Addison Donovan actually got a 4 this year. Out of those nearly 31,000 pieces, only 950 got state medals. So that's a pretty big deal. So, anyways, congratulations.
And Ms. Norway, Dr. B coming up here in just a minute, y'all are next.
Answer your phone.
Well, the next group of folks who we're going to recognize is going to be our cosmetology class. These are some students who've worked really hard, and Ms. Norwood will probably get more information, but after work, put together a certain number of hours and then pass a test for certification. And the students that she's about to recognize, once they get the certification, they are job ready. And that's a part of what we're responsible to do as an education system, is to make sure the students are career ready as well, and that's part of what this program is about.
Hello, for y'all who do not know me, I'm Kaylin Norwood. I'm the cosmetology instructor here at Mount Vernon. We're a little inside about our program, because if you're not in Cosmo from the beginning, you don't really know much about it. We are a 1,000 clock hour class, which means that these girls actually come in, type in a number, and clock in for the day. If they don't clock in, or if I'm not here, they don't get their time and they don't complete the program. So it's just like a job. They literally are putting in every single minute and second to earn that 1,000 hours in high school. It is also a college course that they offer thankfully here at Mount Vernon High School. It's very lucky to have that. And it's free here, where they would be paying a lot of college tuition to attend in college or private school. Another thing that a lot of people don't know or think about these girls, they are part of the COVID clique. We all know about COVID, right? So when we left school in 2020 from spring break and did not come back, these girls actually lost in upwards of 200 hours of possible hours to get, which is a lot if you think about time, right? They have made it up in time to complete their cosmetology program before graduation. So So that in itself is a really big accomplishment. I think we should. And really, they have come way more than just class time to earn those hours. We put in a lot of hard work. In fact, some of our board members here and staff, they enjoy our services at the salon. They do lots of fun competitions, hairstyles, nail art, all kinds of fun things. So if you get a chance in the next couple weeks, stop by and see us. I'd like to first recognize Emma Connor. She has completed her 1,000 hours. And next is Fiona Burton. Brianna Stout. Mandy Gage. And Julianne Moss. These ladies will be going to do their state board exams, which consist of 2 tests, a written and a practical, very, very soon, and will become licensed upon passing and be able to work in the industry. So, check them out. They're going to want you to
I just made an appointment for tomorrow, so I'm ready to go. Eyebrows, is that what you're saying? Come on, life says do, coach. Alright, great. Now the next, I think the last week we're going to recognize tonight, but not the least, but the last, is going to be our band students. So Ms. Partridge, please come share with us the success of your band students.
So in the band, there's like different seasons, we kind of call them seasons, and in the spring it's honestly just as, you just like stop talking, I'm done with it, okay. So there's multiple different things we do. We do like marching band, we go into Christmas season, we go into solo ensemble, and after solo ensemble we go into UL, competition side reading. So right now, we have students who have excelled in the UL solo ensemble. But we also have this thing called Winter Guard that takes us a lot of time, and these students are very dedicated. So to talk about our Winter Guard program and our students who are successful in that is our Color Guard coordinator, Ms. Kaylee Griffin.
This year this is our first time to participate in the solo and ensemble. We had several people that participated, and 3 of them go ahead and step forward: Jackie Riley, Emily Valle, and Ariana Huff. We were given 2 dates to compete, and one of them was prom, so we couldn't do that day. So the only other day was they only had a week to make up a whole routine. And if any of y'all know anything about that, that is difficult to do. And I asked them if they wanted to do it, and they were ready to do the challenge, and they succeeded. Jackie Riley did a solo, and Emily and Ariana did an ensemble, and you had to get higher than a 90 to go to the next round, which is All-Stars, and Jackie got a 92, and the other 2 got a 96. So they moved on to All-Stars, they performed at All-Stars, and they all 3 got a perfect score of 100. So we're super proud of them, they worked really hard, so.
The next part, everyone else kind of stand on the stage. So there's 3 things that the hardest thing to do as a band student and just as a high schooler. And the first one is state marching competition, but that requires you to like rely on your band and everyone else around you. So there's like the other two things are individual competitions, and one is to make the all-state process, the all-state band, and the other one is to make state solo ensemble. And so the first person I want to recognize is Lee Kowalski, who made it to state on a solo. Not only did he advance as the state solo ensemble, as I know, but he's also a freshman who advanced in the region band, only person in our band made region band. He's also only a person who advanced that area as a freshman, which is very unheard of, and he got second. So he was one away from making state as a freshman. So people are on applause because next up, we have Seth Barrett. He advanced to state on a French horn solo. He also plays electric guitar and his main electric guitar, to be honest, and made all region jazz on guitar also. So, next is Benjamin Reisman on alto saxophone. He made solo on alto saxophone. He also was alternate for the jazz band on tenor saxophone. So we kind of usually the saxophone players, we have like people who can play all the instruments, say feel like have fun. He's that guy. We call him utility players. So Ben's that guy. We're like have fun. Jackie's also another saxophone player. We said here's a soprano, figure it out. So very talented saxophone players we have here. And then the last person for solos is Hunter Saxon on trumpet. So Hunter not only played a really ridiculously hard trumpet solo, we actually got a lot of praise from the accompanist, because who was that? The accompanist who also teaches piano at Anna College. And she was like, wow, he's doing really good. He's also in a minor in music over at Commerce and got a good scholarship over there too. So we're really, really proud of Hunter and all his achievements. So those are all the soloists. Then we also have the percussion ensemble. Percussion ensemble, you don't stand forward. Or, yeah, stand forward. So that is, right, say your name, just go and wave. Kevin Martinez, Madison Pham, Mia Breeden, Callie Clark, Abby Mayo, Morgan Fountain, and Juan Gonzalez. Something about the percussion ensemble will be Mr. Cheek, who's our percussion and jazz director.
So, a lot of people don't realize there's actually multiple seasons to band when it comes to high school, to band in general. High school band specifically starts with marching band season. Before that's over, we have solo or all region, which is where we pass out more music to them to learn individually. And then after that, we were working on our Christmas concert. That's a season of its own. It's an entirely different animal, learning Christmas music. And then directly on top of that, we pass out solos. We tell them you got to pick a solo, and you want to do well, and you want to go to state. That's all while they're still on the field every Friday night marching and going to contests. After that, when we come back from Christmas break, we have our spring concert that we're getting ready for. It's actually the material that we're using for our concert side reading contest. So just like we go to marching UIL, we also do that in the spring for concert side reading. All this while they're still working on all region, and if they advance, they're working on that, solo and ensemble. And by this time we're done with marching, but it's still a different animal sitting down inside playing your instrument than it is on a football field where you're trying to present that sound to an audience that's at the press box, right? Shortly after that, we are preparing for our spring concert, which hopefully you came out and saw that. And then on top of that, at the very end of the year, we're getting ready for audition season for a lot of these seniors that are trying to get stuff ready to go audition for college. And then we're starting over on marching season. We're already doing that. So if you have 8th graders that are going to be in marching band next year, they're already going outside most days, learning how to march. They're already learning all the exercises and warm-ups that we're playing for the following year. And these kids here that you're seeing, most seniors that are leaving, they're helping us out by teaching them the ropes during school. And then we'll turn around and do it all again starting in August. And some of us starting earlier than that. The drumline and percussion section specifically, we hold 2 drum camps during the summer, so they're giving up 2 weeks during the summer to come ahead of their August marching band commitment. And then while this is all going on, we're still marching in the fall, and I tell them, oh, hey, we're going to take a group and we're going to go to state. So as far as I know, I don't think the percussion section on the tunnel has been to state here in the past. So this group you see in front of me, and minus one that helped us get here, Landon Skeen, who's actually out playing 7-on-7 with those other guys that were mentioned earlier. He couldn't be here, but they helped us get here. They started learning that music before Christmas, and we go in February, right? Solo ensemble. They perform this piece, and then they get a ranking, and they're told, okay, you can advance to state. So it's UIL, it's region, area, state. So they advance to state, and they're going to go to state on May, the weekend of the 30th. It's a trip down to Pflugerville, and they're going to take a trip down there and perform once again. So we're still rehearsing that same music. They've been here every morning at 7:30 rehearsing before class to get things ready to go to state for the first time. And hopefully we'll go there and we'll have some success on that trip. Another kind of point of interest for that trip specifically is, let's have Kevin and Madison raise your hand. So these are two seniors. If Madison raised her hand, that's it. These are two seniors that after they graduate and they're done, and they're like, no, they don't have to be here. They're going to come back and take another band trip with this group and go down. And so they're basically giving up the first ounce of freedom they have as no longer students at high school to come down and represent and go to school and go to contests to try to push for state. So let's give them a round of applause. Yeah, we'll take a picture first and then perform.
And we're going to take a picture, and then the percussion group is going to play for us tonight and share with us what they are going to play at state, correct?
There's several cameras. Good. Congratulations, thank you. We'll let y'all say real quick.
So as they're getting set up, I'll explain a little bit about the piece. It's called Mercury Rising. All the music that we perform at UIL is ranked at a class level. So you have to perform a class 1 piece of music to advance. So this is a class 1 ensemble where there's multiple people. Now, each person has more than one instrument they're playing, so each person has multiple parts. Our keyboard players, Madison on this end is playing the bass marimba, and she's also playing the bass drum, so she goes back and forth. We've got our two keyboard players in the very middle. Morgan's playing the top end of the marimba, so this is essentially one part written for two people on the same instrument. And we've got Callie in the middle playing the vi part. We've got Mia playing xylophone and bells, so she's going back and forth between two instruments. In the very back here, we've got Andy playing a concert tom setup with a suspended cymbal. So he's playing multiple instruments. We've got Kevin's playing timpani. If you're not familiar with timpani, they're the big kettle drums. He's playing those, and there's tuning things that have to happen for him to be able to play, because it's actually a bass melodic instrument. So it's not just hitting a drum, he actually has to tune it to find a specific pitch. Then off to the side, we have Juan that's setting up. He's playing snare drum, he's playing a suspended cymbal, and he's playing the gong. So each student doesn't just have one piece, one instrument that they're playing. They're pretty busy throughout the whole piece. Another thing about this class level of music is I'm not going to stand in front of them and conduct. I don't count them off, I don't conduct. I'm going to do that tonight, just kind of give them some cues in case they get lost, which they don't really do too often. So you might hear me kind of shouting stuff at them. I may throw a pin or something, I don't know, but they run the show from start to finish. because the judge would like to see a group that can perform and listen to each other. And I tell them all the time, if you're making small mistakes, the judge is going to listen and want to give you points for recovery. So we try not to make any mistakes, obviously, but if it happens, the judge has the music in front of him. So he's reading line for line, note for note, what they're playing. He not only hears their mistakes, but he sees it. So then whenever he hears it and he sees that they made a mistake, he wants to judge how well they listen to each other and how well they perform off of each other. So mistakes can be forgivable as long as we recover. That's musicianship. In other words, the show must go on, right? So how well they actually perform the piece, not necessarily the ink on the page. So there's a lot that goes into it. They each have cues from other members of how they're going to recover if they need to. We actually practice recovery in different parts of the music because things happen. And the things that happen are going to happen at the performance. So you got to practice for that. Are we ready? Tuned up? Good? All right. Very good. And this is your high school percussion ensemble, Advancing the State.
Anybody here to speak in open forum? No. Okay. All right, move on to item number 6, consider approval of the consent agenda. Any questions on the consent agenda? Okay, we'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Motion made by Robert, seconded by Scott, all four. 7-0. Item 7 are action items. Moving on to those. Item 8, consider renewal of legal service program with Power Law Group LLP for the 2022-2023 school year.
This is our yearly renewal to continue to allow Paul Group to be our legal representation. As you see, we're also a part of a TREA. And if you had a chance to look at it, the firm's annual retainer is way for TREA for districts. I believe we have a very good relationship with Paul Group. And be my recommendation is we continue to renew the legal services with Power Law Group for the 22-23 school year.
Okay, any questions on that? All right, so at this time, I'll make a motion that we renew the legal services program with Power Law Group LLP for the 2022-2023 school year. Do I have a second? Second by Brooks. All four? That's 7-0 on that one. Item B on there, consider a resolution from Texas Rural Broadband Coalition regarding broadband service and internet needs.
This is a recommendation for you to, for Mount Vernon ISD to join this broadband coalition. If you have an opportunity to look at what that is a group of districts who are joining together to basically request the Governor Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, Speaker of the House, Nick Phelan, and all members of the 87th Texas Legislature and the Texas Education Agency for them to create a statewide broadband internet service plan to ensure equitable and affordable opportunities for rural school students to access fully the benefits and privileges of the Texas public school system. So it is just an opportunity for us as a district to join this coalition and decide on to be a part of it and our recommendation to you.
Okay.
No cost or anything like that, it's just we're adding our name to be a part of the coalition.
Okay. Any further questions on that? So I need a motion that we consider the resolution for the Texas Rural Broadband Coalition regarding broadband service and internet needs. It's made by Robert, seconded by Leanne, all four. 7-0.
Thank you.
Consider approval to adopt the addition of a summer school compensation rate for clerical and administrative positions and professional non-contract professional development rate on the MVISD extra stipend or extra duty stipend list.
In your board packet, you should have seen some pre-highlighted areas. What we're bringing to you today is to update our stipend extra duty list, which we're required to do. One you have on there is professional development non-contract days. For those days during the summer, we're asking or basically requesting our teachers come up with professional development over and above their contracted days. We need to pay them on their daily rate. That will be really supervised by campus principals as well as administration office. Normally that's going to be 1 or 2 days. This last year because of Texas Reading Academy was due additional days more than that. But so it's not asking teachers to come up on their own time, but to pay them for that. The other part of the summer school office clerical, we don't have that on the list, but that office personnel, which will also be out on contract days or work days, paid work days, we can pay them $20 an hour to be a part of that summer school. And then summer school administrator, what that is there's going to be a couple of days during the summer school that like Mr. Lover, Mr. Hammonds will be off campus because they're in their state leadership meeting. So we have somebody to step in and act as administrator on that day. It would not be, so in essence, Mr. Glover, since he's on 226, will not make this administrative pay for summer school because he's on contract anyway. It would
their absence, who's not on the contract or anything. So that would be, we're recommending $50 now for that active summer school administrator during that time.
Any questions on that? All right.
We need any tutors.
No. We can't get paid anyway, so. Oh, right. Yeah, I'm a volunteer.
You're already volunteering for
I need a motion that we approve this additional summer school compensation rate as presented. Motion made by Scott. Second by Linda. All for? 7-0. Okay.
Thank you.
D, consider approval for vendor quotes for BSN sports for new athletic equipment.
Raise that for you because the amount was over the $50,000 threshold. This is actually money that you approved that was here, it cost money that we were able to divvy out. If you remember, we gave some to athletics, we gave some to elite cheers, some to band, some to FFA, we budgeted some bus, and even a sign for it. So we failed to get this, to bring this report at the time, we didn't have that, so now we're bringing this to you with an amount of $57,077.62. It's not additional money in the budget, it's money that you've already approved to be there. We have a little $50,000 money for approval.
Do we know what all it is on there?
Weight
This
equipment,
is, okay.
some machinery for our trainer to use. So some bikes, some things like that.
Okay.
Weight equipment for all athletics, boys and girls, and some machines for our trainer to use on all athletics.
Okay. All right, then. So do I have a motion that we approve this vendor quote for BSN Sports for this new athletic equipment? Motion made by Linda. Second by Robert. All for that one. 7-0.
Thank you.
Item E, discuss and possible action to adopt board policy CCGB local.
Okay, I'm not going to read through all of the draft of CCG local, but what it is would be a small change or addition to our local policy in regard to the Texas Economic Development Act. As you know, as we've had some information shared with us, it talks about everything to deal with the possibility of a 313 agreement. And so we'll have more conversation about 313s tonight, but that'll be a part of what we will have to do. It goes through the amending of filing of an application fee schedule, amending that, processing of the application, initial board review, what happens after initial board review, district consultants, board action on application, enforcement proceedings, applicant reporting obligations, superintendent responsibilities, foreign trade zone, pieces of that, of what has to be done with that. So anyway, we've had that before you, so it'll be my recommendation that you approve CCGD local board policy.
So we don't have this already in effect. This is going to be something new for us. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. This
Does
time.
Larry have anything to add to that? Anything to add to that? Sorry, sir.
We're collecting the Powerball group. The one thing to add, I think the question was, is this going to be something for us? Any district that has a 313 adopts a policy either exactly the same or substantially the same. So this isn't just unique to Mount Vernon, but it is a process that any district would use in order to consider a 313 application.
Okay, so this is something that we're going to need just to get the ball rolling.
Yes, it is. All it is just a process to follow. It is not any a binding part of a 313 application.
Okay. motion to, take action to adopt this, board policy CCGB local. Motion made by Josh. Seconded by Linda. All four. 7-0. We'll adopt that one. Item F, discuss and possible action to retain attorneys and consultants to assist Mount Vernon ISD in the review and processing of an application for appraised value limitation on qualified property from Stockyard Solar Project, LLC, pursuant to Texas Tax Code 313.
And we have the opportunity to possibly look at a possible 313 project. We will need to engage in retaining attorneys. Powell Law Group, who used to prove to be our normal legal consultants on regular matters of school district, also has extensive experience in 313 projects, and so they have presented a letter for that, and be my recommendation that we would retain Powell Law Group to assist us in the review and processing application for the appraised value limitation of qualified property for Stockyard Solar Project LLC.
Okay, I've got a couple of questions. This is probably a pretty decent time while you're up here, and we need to address them at another time. Sure. Let's see here, so I'm gonna read this off, I wrote it down. So, and we're not agreeing to anything on this right now, we're just kind of, we'll explain a little bit more, but this is kind of a process, we're all rolling, we're not going to read anything, but something we should think about here is, so through the life of the agreement, is there any wording that indicates that the company would take any potential federal energy rebates that would normally be due to the district?
Would the companies take monies that would normally come to the district?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Energy rebates.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So, and
any rebates or benefits that they receive would be through application and the receipt because the company is entitled to it. Now, we can talk about the tax impact. They are going to pay less in taxes, and we'll talk about the impact of that on the school district. But in terms of receiving rebates or benefits that the school district would otherwise, the answer is no.
And that would be like, are we, I don't know if we're getting any energy rebates right now. Okay. So that doesn't really, all right. So one more here. So, and this isn't an abatement, but this is, so in the event that there is no abatement agreement, which this isn't really an abatement, so here's the question, in the event that there is no agreement and the company decides to proceed with their project, how much additional income does the district stand to make, and does this land come out of ag exemption, and how much does its valuation increase?
So I can answer, in particular, that the land would come out of ag exemption once the construction is underway and the solar farm is being constructed and operated. Okay, so that answers that part of it. And by the way, Zach and Heath are representatives from Stockyard Solar, and they can answer some specific project questions as well. And they can address kind of how that whole process works between the landowner. But again, those are all issues that are between the landowners and the company. The board's analysis and agreement would be as it relates to how the property is taxed for purposes of these school districts, M&O taxes. But that specific impact, there's a presentation that is in your blue folder. There's a spreadsheet that talks about the financial analysis, and if you'll give me until that point in time, I will fully explain the tax
savings to the company as well as the benefits to the district, regardless of whether or not they actually build it or don't build it, or do you agree to the value limitation agreement or not agree to it. I'll explain that whole process to you as part of the presentation itself.
The current recommendation, which we're currently in, would be to retain the attorneys of the Powell Law Group to assist us in the review process of the application.
Okay. Dr. McCullough, if I could just say one thing, I want to make sure that the board understands. This agreement does not require the district to pay a single penny out of pocket. Okay? That while there is a retainer agreement, the important reason for the retainer agreement is because our law firm would be the district's representative. We don't have any affiliation or fiduciary duty to this applicant. Our duty would be to the school board, and that's why we have this agreement. Now, they will pay an application fee that will then be utilized in order to pay both the legal fees and the consultant's fees for the school financial reports. But that's the purpose of the agreement, and I just want to make sure that no matter what, no dollar comes out of the coffers of the school district for purposes of doing any legal work from this project.
Remember from one of our other presentations, the application fee is set by the state.
The application fee is set by the comptroller's regulations and by your board policy that you just adopted.
Okay, so as you said, you did see it in your packet, and Ms. Ryder said all expenses have been calculated and established the application fee, and no additional expenses shall be charged to the district for completing the matter.
That's right.
That's in the agreement.
Okay. And while we're kind of on the subject, just to hear you're okay, since we're on camera, this is between the landowners, this solar farm is between the landowners and the solar company. The school has no say in whether it's coming to a district or not, right?
That's right. The only decision that is critical to their decision about whether to move forward would be whether or not you agree to give them a value limitation, which results in a tax savings to them for the process. But in terms of their agreements as to how they enter on the land and what they do on the land and how they build and when they take it off and all of that kind of stuff, all of those issues are between the company and the landowners where the project is going to be located.
Okay. All right.
I make a motion that we retain our attorneys, Powell Law Group, as our consultants to assist in running ISD in the review and processing of an application for appraisal or appraised value limitation on qualified property from Stockyard Solar Project LLC pursuant to Texas Tax Code 313. Do I have a second for that? A second by Josh. Any further questions? Okay, all for that. 7-0. On the back here, item G, acknowledgement of conflict of interest policies, DBFA, legal and local, in connection with an application for appraised value limitation on qualified property from Stockyard Solar Project, LLC, pursuant to Texas Tax Code 313.
Will you kind of walk us through this, please, sir?
I will. First of all, if you look in your folder, you will find a bound together deal that's got looks a little bit like this, and on the front it says acknowledgement of conflict of interest. Now, this is not an action item. This is basically documentation in order to prepare you in the event the state were to do an audit of this particular project. The state auditor chooses 3-4 projects every year that does an audit. This conflict of interest policy is your policy regardless of whether or not you're doing business with this vendor or any other vendor. Okay, so this isn't new in terms of your conflict of interest. What we do is just formalize it in order to better prepare you in the event that there's an audit. And then if you look at the second and third pages after that, you can see a copy of the maps for the project. And you know, your big area on the first page shows the county and the school district, and then that little kind of jagged box there. It's both the project boundary as well as the reinvestment zone boundary. So that tells you where within the school district that the project is located. And the reason why we do that is that you as board members are acknowledging as part of this process that neither you or your spouse, or you or your spouse's children or parents have one of two things: either an ownership in Stockyard Solar or own land that's within the project. And as long as the answer to that is no, and you did know already if you had land in the project because you'd have a deal with the company. But as long as the answer is no, then your acknowledgement will be no conflict, and you're going to initial where it says no conflict. And what I want to do is I want to pass one of these down and start from one end to the other end, and it can be an original, would be just fine. We'll start here, and I'd like for you, if you've got no conflict, please just initial.
Probably the best thing for us to do would be a motion second and pass it, and then sign. Is that right?
Sir, this is not actually an action item.
Okay.
What you're going to do is you're going to you make your public acknowledgement, and then this sheet of paper is going to stay in your board minutes, so that if at any time someone questions or audits that you went through this process, you've got it in your board minutes.
Okay.
But you don't actually need to adopt this acknowledgement,
Okay.
if that makes any sense. So if you would just publicly just say that either no conflict or a disclosure. No conflict, okay? And by the way, just so you'll understand, even if one of you did have a conflict, all that would mean is you'd abstain from the process going forward. That wouldn't prevent the board from continuing to consider the application. So, yes, sir.
No conflict.
Okay, thank you.
No conflict, Aaron Sanders.
Doesn't matter what color it is, black or blue?
Oh, no, it doesn't matter. Whatever color you have.
No conflict, Brooke Brazil.
No conflict, Stubbins.
Okay, so all board members have acknowledged no conflict, and that is all you need to do for this particular item on your agenda.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, item H. Discuss and possible action to accept an application for appraised value limitation on qualified property from Stockyard Solar Project LLC pursuant to Texas Tax Code 313. Authorize the superintendent of schools to review the application for completeness and submit the application to the Texas Comptroller of Public Accounts, and authorize the superintendent of schools to approve any request for extension of the deadline for board action beyond the 150-day board review period as may be required.
So first of all, one of the key things that I want to start out with and restate to the extent that it needs to be, because I know y'all are kind of taking information in like a fire hose on this deal. And believe me, I've done it with boards many, many times across the state.
And we'll talk about this enough to where it all sort of makes sense. So the good news is, as Mr. Sanders indicated early on, what you're doing tonight is starting a process. Nothing that you do today, even if you accept the application, binds the district to ultimately enter into an agreement with this company. It's what's essentially the opening of the due diligence process. And in fact, you have to accept the application in order to learn whether or not this is a deal that's good for you or not good for you. If you don't start the process, then you can never figure that out. But at the end of the day, you can accept the application, take the application fee, go through the due diligence process, and then come back in about 6 months, October roughly, and just say no thank you, if that's what you choose to do. So I just want to open by telling you that's all we're doing tonight. But then in your folder, you've got a copy of the application. This is a standard application in terms of its form that gets submitted to the comptroller anytime there's a 313. So you've got that in front of you. But more importantly, a little bit more, hopefully, cogent and concise understanding of the 313 and the process and the application is in this presentation that's also in your folder that looks just like this. And I've actually got it on PowerPoint, but since your screen is behind you, and since you all have a copy of it anyway, let's just look through the paper copy. And then if you all have got any questions, then we can talk about it further. And again, once I go through this process, I'll let Zach and Heath answer some project questions and give you a little bit more explanation about the project from there. But if you look at that first page, you can see the project overview. They're proposing to build a 210 megawatt facility solar farm with the additional BESS on top of that. The qualified investment is $450 million. That's the anticipated cost of construction at this point. They are putting in their application that they are starting the qualified time period on January 1st of next year, and their construction start date anticipated to be January 1st of next year. They are anticipating that there's going to be 250 full-time equivalents of construction jobs that will last over a period of 2 years. That qualifying time period is the period in time in which they must make their minimum investment and must finish construction in order to get the benefit of this value limitations agreement. But they're anticipating that they'll have commercial operations starting as of January 1st of 2024. Then it goes under value limitation in January 1st of 2025. That's at the time at which it would then be valued at the limited value of $20 million for a period of 10 years. And that's just kind of the brief summary of what their anticipated timeline is going to be. Then if you look at the next page, these are the same maps that you just looked at earlier with regard to the location of the project and where the land is located. All right, now let's take a look at the next page. Mr. Sanders, this is the page that I referred to earlier that explains the benefits regarding the 313. So let me kind of take you through this a little bit. First of all, that column A, you can see it's got the QTP 1 and 2. Those are the qualifying time period years. The L1 through L10, that is the limitation years. And then there's a required period of time under the agreement. The project will actually last much longer than this, but the period of time that is covered by the agreement starts with QTP 1 and ends with maintain viable presence year number 5.
And then the next column there, that shows you the actual school years that would be in play related to those years. And then after that, it's the tax year. And then column D shows the actual anticipated project value. Again, these are assumptions. The appraisal district will actually appraise the property every year, and it'll be determined whatever that value is based upon appraisal district for purposes of actual values for purposes of the agreement. Then the period or the column E is the the estimated taxable value, including the value limitation of $20 million. So you can see that first year, before the start of the limitation, there's a $51 million value at the time, because that's what construction they anticipate being on the ground during that tax year. And then it goes under limitation for 10 years. And then after that, you can see that it comes back on the rolls at about $47 million, almost $48 million. The reason it comes on at that value is that is the anticipated depreciation of the project by that time. Again, the depreciation schedule is not set by the company. It is set by the tax code and comptroller regulations, etc. So it is not something that they determine. This is based on the state law. And then the next section talks about the value savings, the tax savings as a result of putting them under limitation. Then G is your M&O rate. I know that that's the M&O rate now. Obviously, that M&O rate is going to change over time based on what the school finance law is at the time. And then you have another column that shows the taxes before value limit and the taxes after value limit, and then the ultimate tax savings to the company in column J. All right, and so let's talk about that a little bit. So the question was, what happens if you do give them a value limitation? What happens if you don't give them a value limitation and then they build the project anyway? So the answer is right there in those columns. If they were to build without the value limitation, and again, they've said to the comptroller that the tax incentives are a key basis for why they're making the application. So they're telling you that they need this for purposes of being able to make this project viable, but they can answer it more specifically. But regardless, I want to answer for you, what is the benefit to you of making this decision? So let's assume that the company was to build it and not get the value limitation, and they choose to do that. And see, you would get 15 million, almost 16 million in revenue. If you agree to the limitation, then your M&O would be $4.4 million. Now, obviously, that's a savings of about $11.5 million to the company. Now, what's the impact to the district? The thing to keep in mind is, as you all, I'm sure, remember, whenever your local revenue goes up, your state aid goes down. So regardless of whether or not you're going up $15 million or you're going up $4.4 million, your state aid is going to decrease proportionally. So because of the school finance laws, you're not going to get any direct benefit in terms of revenue either way. Where you get the benefit of entering into the 313 is by getting these additional benefits that is provided for by the statute, and those are the next columns after that. So after the tax savings, if you look at K, there's a revenue loss protection payment, and it's called a revenue loss protection But it's really a theoretical loss, because essentially if the project wasn't there, you wouldn't be losing any money anyway. And so really what you need to do is look at it as an additional $1.95 million in revenue that you would receive it would accrue in the first year of the limitation period. And that $1.9 million is money that is not considered in the state aid or the state funding formulas. So that's money that the district would receive that would not reduce any state aid, and they don't have any strings attached to it where how you spend it, and it does not, it's not subject to any sort of recapture by the state. Then the second benefit that you receive is what's called supplemental payment benefits, that is based upon your ADA. So your ADA times $100 is how you determine that supplemental payment benefit. So you can see that for that period in column L, you would receive $145,800 for those number of years, for a grand total of almost $2.2 million. So you've got almost $2.1 million plus almost $2 million. That is the benefit that the district receives from entering into this 313 in terms of additional revenue. If you were to not agree to the 313 and they build the project anyway, then you wouldn't get those payments. You would just get whatever you would in terms of revenue minus whatever reduction in state aid. So that's how you look at that. Now, the other benefit to keep in mind is, to the extent that you have INS debt, then you've got addition. This is taxed at full value for purposes of INS. So this project coming to the district can actually help out all of your other taxpayers, because this one set of landowners in this project would end up paying a very substantial portion, as indicated on the sheet, of your INS debt. So that's another benefit that you can tell your taxpayers. And that in a nutshell is your financial benefit. If you look at the next page. Yes, do you want to take questions?
No, while we're talking about the financial impact, I want to say this. I've got this Pam Andy, our CFO, she's not able to be here today, but I've asked her to run the numbers if the 313 agreement was not put into play and the solar project continues to move forward. Because we're always right on the cusp. We're right there, always inching up to chapter 49, to where additional taxation would push us there, and we would have to send money back to the state.
Right.
So in doing so with the 313 agreement, how I'm following what you're saying, by joining into a 313 agreement, provides us the opportunity to maybe stay out of chapter 49 and not send additional state aid back to the state, but allows us to keep that money here in regard to the payments that you just expressed and talked about, or shown us from a district standpoint. It's not recapturable to the state.
And that's exactly right, because if you do the 313, then obviously the additional value that you're bringing into the district is 51 million, and then down to 20 million, and then as high as 40, almost 48 million at the end of the day. So if you don't do the 313, then your values are under D. So you've got 51 million, and then 238 million, and then 219 million. Those kinds of numbers might push you into a recapture situation where you're paying money back to the state.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's kind of a nutshell of the financial impact. But again, this is the impact based upon very early numbers. We're going to crunch these The comptroller is gonna look at the impact. We're gonna have Region 12 that has some of the best minds in terms of school finance and 313s together. They're gonna crunch some numbers and do a report, and we'll come back and tell you a more definitive answer about this at the end of the day. I just wanted you to see that looking at it right now, it looks like it's going to be a huge benefit to you. But that's part of what we're going to figure out between now and October, November, whenever we come back. But that's then the timeline. Essentially, what we're doing during the timeline here at the very beginning here, where you accept the application. By accepting the application, that allows you to work with Dr. McCollum and make sure that the application is complete, send it to the comptroller. Then the comptroller runs the analysis to see whether or not it makes sense for the state of Texas. If it makes sense for the state of Texas, then we're green-lighted to continue on in the process. If they say it doesn't make sense for the state of Texas, that's the end of that at that point in time. We don't anticipate that's going to occur, but that's a step in the process. Then after that, then we'll put together the school finance report with Region 12. We'll put together a full set of board findings and bring back about 100 pages of documentation for you to tell you yay or nay whether or not it's in the benefit of the district. And then and we'll negotiate a proposed agreement that has the terms dealing with the payments that we just talked about and the protections to the district that show that if they don't honor their obligations, basically they end up having to pay back all back taxes, interest, and et cetera, if they don't comply with the agreement. But we'll bring all of that back to you, and then you make a decision. It's not until that board meeting in October or November that anything that you do as a board would be binding upon the district moving forward. And at that time, you would authorize the approval of the application and the entry of the agreement that we proposed. That's the timeline. That's roughly how that works. The next page is practical considerations. Basically, the process has to require that the school district is held harmless for loss of any O&O revenue to the school district. Again, the payments that you receive are not subject to recapture. We've already kind of talked about that. But the last thing I want to do is Keith and Zach are here related to the project. If you all have any specific questions for them related to the project, feel free to ask those at this time. You what? Once they apply, well, I think they're going to tell you that it's in their interest to follow through, because if you don't, then they're not going to get a project. But if they don't follow through, I mean, again, at the end of the day, you're not out anything. But I expect they're going to tell you that they will follow through. So to answer the question, there's not anything that says they have to follow through. Part of what they're doing in this process is also finding out, making sure that it's in the interest of the company to move forward. I think they'll tell you they expect that it will, but that's part of why they're doing the due diligence.
Well, part of that, I guess what you're saying is, if they back out, now we're asking them nothing, they're out $75,000.
That's right.
There's no project.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Hey everyone, how are you doing? My name is Zach Prokopi. I'm with Enel Green Power. I do have a PowerPoint that talks a little bit more about Enel and solar and battery. We have a battery attached to this, so I don't know if you'd be interested in seeing that or not. Just to know a little bit more about solar and battery storage.
Yes, please do.
I guess a little info on me before we start. I grew up in Sherman, Texas, actually, so not too far from here. I went out to Texas Tech, got my degree, and then moved up to Kansas City. Hoping to get back down here though soon. I do appreciate y'all's time today. for our project. So this is the Stockyard, no, that's a little too close, Stockyard Solar Project. Okay, yeah, like I said, my name is Zach Procopio. I'm with Enel Green Power. So Enel is a global company. We started off as a utility 50 years or so ago in Italy, but we have been in the States since early 2000s. Since that time, we've become a pretty big gas and renewable energy player in the market. We have a little over 70,000 employees. Going to my next slide here, we have offices across North America, especially as you see one in Austin, we just recently opened up. Our home bases are in Lenexa, Kansas, and Andover, Massachusetts. These are some of our partners that we work with on these projects. As you'll see some pretty big names there. We do like to partner with some of these bigger Fortune 500 companies on these projects to purchase some of the energy, but that's not always the case. These projects do settle and will support the local area and settle in Dallas, the energy will. So although this project may sign something with one of these bigger companies, there is still a lot of power left over to help support the local area. As y'all saw on Rick's sheets there, this is what the project looks like. So right off 1896 there, we have, it's a 210 megawatt solar project with a 70 megawatt BESS. I can get into that a little bit later. We have about 2,000 plus acres secured under long-term leases or purchase options. We have over 10 participating landowners in this project, some of whom you guys probably know. The projected construction timeline for this project, we're planning on starting the beginning of 2024 and completing at the end of 2024. So this is kind of some of our key development activities that we like to do from start to finish. So we do site prospecting. That's where we have a team of folks do some desktop work on what some of the best locations are in Texas. And we like to make sure, it's good open land, high solar resource, has good electrical capacity next to it, environmentally suitable, and just a few other factors as well. Then we go into the land acquisition. Like I said, we have 2,000 plus acres under lease or purchase option. So that's us sitting down with the landowners, talking through what our leases are, what our purchase options are, and seeing if that's a good deal for them. Like we mentioned before, this is all private land, right? So we work directly with them. And these leases are for 40 years. So like Rick mentioned, this project will last well beyond this valuation. And so during that time, during the development process, we do pay annual rent to just hold the property and do some development work, which leads me into our electrical interconnection. So we work closely with ERCOT and Encore to make sure there's, we're able to inject onto the line and make sure there's enough room for us on the line. And we usually have a kickoff meeting. They come out to the site, they see what it looks like. We usually go from there, get our filing started, which leads us into our detailed assessment. And that's really where we get our environmental studies and surveys going, engineering work and design going, just to try to get the project to the construction phase. So once the project is constructed, we have a whole team. So it does take about a year to construct a project of this size. We have our full team of Enel Green Power construction folks and operations and maintenance folks come on board here, and we'll be on site for the lifetime of the project. Once the project is end of life, we come back, pick everything up, restore everything to new. It will look like what it does right now. So, yes, sir.
What's the normal time frame of that project?
4 years. Yes, sir. 40.
Is that the end of it, or would you
It would, that'd be up to the landowners if they would be willing to extend it, you know. It's not always a guaranteed thing, so it could be, you know, reverted back to the prairie land that it is now. Here's some of the positive local impacts that we do have on the community. So I don't know if y'all are aware, but we are the developer for the project going up just north of South Willow ISD as well. It was great working with those folks through the 313 process, and we have a unique program with Superintendent Stickles over there. So I don't know how close you guys are with him, but we built a great relationship with him over there in that school board. But as far as this project goes, we would generate, you know, new revenue for Mount Vernon ISD over, you know, 25 years, as you've seen in the charts. Provide shared value opportunities along STEM education, other unique programs Mount Vernon may want to institute, and just any other areas of education. We also like to support the local fire department, police department as well, and of course, you know, the clean air, soil, water that we promote in Franklin County. This solar project has a very, you know, low impact on the ground. As you can see on the bottom right picture, those are some pollinators we put out to help the wildflowers, you know, stay there, and that's all on site. Help the, you know, Mount Vernon community, of course, thrive in the long term through the new revenue from the school, public services, etc., and just bring the benefits of solar power that is brought to other communities.
So this is a Franklin County project. Is there any way that it can bring down the cost of power in Franklin County to produce that electricity here?
You know, I don't know how much. I don't know how much the local utilities are pulling from Encore, right? I don't know how much it will drop it, but it should drop it, right? The renewable energy does help keep things competitive, right, with natural gas and coal, what have you. So it just naturally does bring down the prices of serve. Here's a better depiction on how it will all kind of work for solar energy. So of course we get the sun through the panels. That gets required into an inverter. You know, switches it from DC to AC, and then that gets put onto the grid and then distributed. You know, as you see there through homes and businesses.
So where would the power line that this would tie into, where does it go? Where is the switch station or substation?
So like I said, it settles in Dallas, right? But there's substations and switch stations all over here in Texas, so it'll be distributed throughout that, you know. But it ends up settling on Dallas.
So we're going to produce electricity here and send it to Dallas?
It will settle in Dallas, but the electricity will be picked up along the way. Yes, sir. 210 megawatts is a lot of energy. I can get you the exact number. It varies depending on if it's a hot day or, you know, or not. So it would probably be, you know, maybe around 50,000, 70,000 homes. Like you. So we also have a battery storage project attached to this. So I don't know how familiar you are with battery storage projects, but so this it allows some of the solar power will be stored in these batteries that will be on site next to, you know, the panels, and it will help, you know, be stored and dispatched on demand. So these battery projects really help when there's some intermittency with the solar, right, and the grid really needs it. So take the freeze, right, back a couple years ago. The battery for this project would be a huge benefit for that. Would help keep the grid alive and help avoid any future blackout. So 70 megawatt battery is a pretty sizable battery as well, and the project should be able to keep those charged while it's still producing.
And that battery, would that be on this property?
It's on, yes, it's connected directly to the solar project, yes, sir.
It wouldn't qualify for 313 agreement if it was not connected to the project also.
And here's how one of those battery storage systems are set up. You have the batteries inside, the control system. And we do have an off-site monitoring system in place where we have people monitoring, making sure the batteries are all producing at where they should be.
So is there someone on site there working with solar to go in and study all day on site?
Yes, yeah. That's all I had. Are there any questions?
Are you getting any pushback from property owners that are avoiding the agreement to work?
That are adjoining? No, we haven't got any pushback or any concerns from the adjoiner landowners.
I know there's some stuff in another area in the county, and the neighbor to the property is, they were not at all happy. So I was just curious if you've had people raise concerns that are outside of the 10 plus you showed there.
No, and really that 10 plus is a big part of that area. That's pretty much the majority of that area.
Right.
So there's really not much of any of that going on.
What does it do to the property that's next to it? Do y'all kind of, is there an average on how much it devaluates that property?
No, we haven't seen that to devalue much, right? Especially with where this is located. There's a lot of trees out there. It's very low to the ground. It's not like the wind projects that are 120 feet or meters up in the air, right? So these are pretty low to the ground. Don't emit any noise. They're very quiet, and like I said, there's a lot of vegetation cover around this particular site. So we aren't anticipating any sort of devaluation.
How do you come up with the revenue loss protection?
There is, it is the basic formula that is used for all 313 analysis, but it'll be formalized in the agreement itself. And we will make sure that under statute you get a maximum benefit that you can receive. That's part of the reason.
That's set by the comptroller.
There is a maximum amount that you can receive for the supplemental payments. The revenue protection is basically an analysis of what was the value with and without the agreement, and then you plug that into the formula, and that's how you determine the revenue loss protection. If you look at that grid, you can see the delta between what the value would have been and would not have been the year before, and that's basically what we use to do the formula. But again, the specific formula will be in the agreement itself, and I'll show it to you.
So again, today, the action item that's before you is to accept the application and to move forward that process. As you saw, we should put it before the comptroller, for the comptroller to study. The comptroller believes we can say testing, and they bring it back to us. And you would have an opportunity at that time to see if it's good for ISD before you agree to the action 313. I say it correctly.
Dr. McCullough, that's exactly correct.
Okay, can I have a motion that we accept an application for appraisal value limitation on qualified property from Stockyard Solar Project LLC pursuant to Texas Tax Code 313 and authorize Coca-Cola to review these applications. Motion made by Carol, second by Ian. All four? Seven oh.
Thank you very much for your putting your trust in us to help you go through this process, and I'll be seeing you in about a week related to another potential application.
Start the application, I'm sure we're going to get some questions here.
That's right. And if you have questions, anybody on the board or if anybody in the community has questions, you've got our contact information. Zach and Heath will all immediately work to get answers to you. Whenever you've got questions that come up, just let us know.
Consider approval for a vendor quote from Phillips and Son Refrigeration Incorporated for a new outdoor freezer at the elementary campus.
Well, this, as you said, be an outdoor freezer from the campus. We pay for funds from TDA, you see that approval are there as well. We're total of $50,507.08. Ms. Rachel was working hard to make this happen. She definitely, we definitely need this space. Give recommendations for today for that.
Any questions on that? Make that motion, do I have a second? Second by Josh, all four? Second over. J, consider and approve Jessica White, Administrative Assistant to Superintendent as the district's RMO Records Management Officer as identified in their local government code 203.025.
One of the changes that, if you don't think about having to make after you've had the same person there for 25 years, now that Ms. Jessica is in this position, we need board approval to make her the record management officer. That will be the recommendations needed tonight.
Motion made by Brooke, seconded by Linda. Further questions?
I'm sure.
All four. So,
Perfect.
information items, enrollment totals.
That enrollment sheet there for you, from April 1 to May 2nd, down 5 students. But I think since May 2nd, we might be back up on that 5 students. But as of May 2nd, enrollment was 1517. As you see, it's still above what it was this time last year.
Okay.
As well as the year before.
Chat summary.
Thank you for being patient and waiting on us to get to this point.
You'll let us know next time we're putting
I'm Tracy Decker, I'm the SHAC advisor, and that stands for School Health Advisory Council. And I'm going to provide you with a summary of our activities for this year. We had meetings on the following dates. On March 30th, Jennifer Sumrow presented the district's wellness plan, and she also discussed the health curriculums that are up for adoption, and parents were given the opportunity to review the materials. On April 12th, Carlos and Farah with Aim for Success presented a Zoom meeting for the parent review of Just Say Yes, Power to Succeed. It was a drug and alcohol and nicotine prevention program. On May 3rd, Jennifer Sumrow presented revisions to the district's wellness policy, and in addition, parents were given the opportunity to review the proposed health curriculums again, and I discussed the SHAC budget for the upcoming year. And the following health and wellness programs were held for the district this year. Fantastic Teeth Band Club is a dental hygiene program provided by the Masons, and they give each first grade student a dental hygiene kit. The coordinated school health program that we use currently is called CATCH, and it is for pre-K through 8th grade, and it promotes physical activity and healthy food choices. Ms. Norwood got together the Kids Heart Challenge, which is like jump rope for heart, and it helps the students help raise money for the American Heart Association. Just Say Yes, Power to Succeed, the drug and alcohol and nicotine prevention program was hosted for 5th through 12th graders. Growing Up and Always Changing Puberty program was hosted for the 5th grade students. A flu shot clinic for students and employees was provided by Aurora Health in October. Mobile mammograms were provided by UT Health in January. And immunization clinics were provided for students in March and April. And a mobile asthma unit from Christus St. Michael's provided free asthma health screenings in April and May for students. And this is a grant program, and the school receives grant money based on the number of students that participate. So we usually get around $1,000. So the following recommendations for 22-23 school year is to continue the employee programs for vaccinations for employees and their family members, continue to host the mobile mammogram unit, and if it's available, we plan to participate in Latin Up East Texas, which is a weight loss challenge, and it's through an organization out of Tyler, and if you join and lose a certain percentage of your weight, your name goes into a drawing for a grand prize, usually money. I think they've given away a car before, but anyway, due to COVID, they haven't had it over the past couple of years. And for student health programs, the chaperone recommends the adoption of the following health curriculums or programs: Waiver Health and PE program for kindergarten through 5th grade, Goodhart Wilcox Comprehensive Health Skills for middle school, and the Esteem program for 9th grade students. We want to host the flu shot and immunization clinics, the Fantastic Teeth program for 1st grade, and the mobile unit for all students. And our check budget request is $3,000. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you for that update. Thank you, Kathy.
Right. Meeting closed session, so this time the board will convene to closed session for personnel matters pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 55074. We're going to discuss commercial or financial information regarding business prospects with which Mount Vernon ISD may conduct economic development negotiations pursuant to Texas Government Code 551087. And also consult with legal counsel as necessary to address legal concerns, implications, and questions regarding the posted agenda item pursuant to Texas Government Code 551071. 7:27 p.m.
Okay. Thank you. Folks, thank you very much.
9:30, board convenes back into open session. Dr. McCullough, do we have a personnel report?
Yes, sir. To acknowledge the contracts that I approved since the last board meeting: Allison Higgins, Andrea Reynolds, Bailey Daniels, Cassie Ham, Kelly Blaylock, Michaela Damasio, Kathy Palma, Emily Hassell. I think Allison, Andrea, Bailey, Cassie, and Kelly are elementary positions. Michaela and Kathy, I think, are middle school, and Emily Hassell is the middle school principal.
Okay.
Resignations. Have resignations from Michelle Duran, cafeteria worker, Charlotte Homer, Paul Strandlin, Kayla Clausen, Jenny Grohlman, Laura Hollenquist, Rachel Thompson, John Matthew Williams, Danny Willis, Rachel K. Wood, and Billy Mosley.
Okay. And two of those are
two are retiring.
Retires.
Yes.
Okay. What about the two contract renewals?
Two contract renewals. Those were current professional employees who passed their certification testing, and so we were extended a contract to them. We were holding those until that took place for Davian Hall and Christian Lab.
Okay. Any further business? Board is adjourned at 9:32 p.m.
Thank you very much.